Hi, this is Lynette Luster. Welcome to the Organic Living Series. I'm so glad you could join me so I can share with you a really special part of my heart, which is my garden. Today we're going to talk about container gardening. That's where I started, in pots, 12 years ago. Vegetables, herbs, flowers, you name it. I did it in pots in my apartment. And that's where I just believe it's a great place to start. 12 years later, I'm still growing stuff in pots, so this is a great place to start. So let's get right into it. Why container gardening? Container gardening has so many different advantages. First of all, it's a controlled environment. So you have the soil that you want, and of course, I'm always going to tell you, Edna's Best is the best soil to have because it's all organic. It has all the organic things from organic sources with enough nutrients and mycorrhizal fungi and all that good probiotic stuff to get you through a whole season of growth. So your plants are only as good as the soil you plant them in. And so that's one of the things of controlled environment. The other advantage to container gardening is that you have the advantage of putting it wherever you want it. It's a pot. If you want to put it in the sun, you put it in the sun. If it's too much sun, you can take it outside of the sun. I can't even do that with the planters around the side of my house. But with a container, you can definitely do that. And then also space. The space can work with you or to help you with growth. So let's say if I'm growing a citrus tree and I don't want it to grow too big, I put it in a pot. So that's going to control its growth so it doesn't grow too much. But in the case of growing vegetables, you have it to the other advantage, which is you give it just enough space where the root system can grow and have just as much space as it would if it were in ground or in a planter. Then you can get a nice, big, bushy, wonderful plant. And it's right here in a pot. So you have all those advantages. And then the other thing is that space. You can put the pot in the space that is more conducive to where you're growing. If you want it in your front porch, you have space in your backyard, you have space on your patio, you have space in front of a window, that's where you put your pot. And so what are some of the other advantages of container gardening, which is that they have so many choices now. There's so many choices of bush plants, patio varieties, all these what they call bush varieties of plants. Like, say for instance, if you grow like a regular type of squash, it's usually vining and it goes all over the place. But now they have bush varieties of squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, all these choices they didn't used to have back in the day when I first started out that are all great to grow in pots. There's all kind of vegetables that are great for pots, and I just named a few of them. Cucumbers, bush varieties, grow great in pots. Peppers, we're going to grow a few, grow great in pots. They have bush varieties of tomatoes, which grow great in pots. Other things that are great in pots, salads, herbs, all these things grow great in pots. So don't think that just because you're in an apartment or something, where you don't have all this yard or space or land, that you can't grow. My motto is have sun will grow. If you have some sun, you can grow some stuff. If you have just a few hours of sun, you can grow herbs and salads and all those things. If you can get 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight, you can grow vegetables. I don't care where it is. I'm going to help my friend grow a hanging basket herb garden off her fire escape in the Bronx in her apartment. So don't tell me. Have sun will grow. And so the other thing is that you want to know what are the tips and tricks to having a successful container garden. And I'm going to tell you what some of those are. One is the type of pot. Like you see here, I got your good old-fashioned terracotta pot. These are good because you have the best of both worlds. One, they breathe, so you're not going to have everything in here getting all too hot or getting too moist inside. But then on the other hand, it's controlled. It's clay. It's a natural thing, and clay is just a really good way to go. They also have BPA-free synthetic resin pots that are pretty good. These are some of them right here. I definitely don't sleep on these. This is a self-watering pot over here, and so you see it has reservoirs inside that hold the water, which are really, really good. And then you drench the pot really, really well the first time, and then as you go along within your growing cycle, you just fill it up in the little reservoir here. That's a really good way to go. They're a little more pricey, but if you can start a collection of self-watering pots, that's a good investment to go in, especially if you're like me in Southern California, where once it hits July and August, it's on as far as the heat. My whole life becomes about keeping my plants alive and hydrated. So, but clay is a good way to go. Synthetic resin, BPA free, is a good way to go. Wood is good. Like for me, it's not the best choice because it just gets too hot and it breathes too much, and so I just can't keep my plants hydrated the way I would like. But you know, wood is also a very good option. And then the size of your pot. You know, I got a lot of friends like, I gotta grow something in a pot, and they show me some little 6-inch pot. I'm like, I don't know how much you're gonna grow in that. So you always want to start with at least, like this is a 14-inch pot over here. That's as small as I would go. This is 14 inches. This is 16 inches. And then, you know, I have some 18 and 21-inch pots, especially for my trees. I do citrus trees in pots as well. So container gardening is the way to go. So without further ado, I want to show you that there are other things available to you as well. They didn't have all this stuff back in the day. Self-watering stacking planters. I'll be doing an herb garden in one of these later on in another episode. And you just stack them right on top of each other. You can see here, and you water in through the sides. These are amazing. The woman who developed these, single mom, her vision was to help people in third world countries to be able to grow food for their families. So of course, you know, this is a great way to go. Nancy Jane. And then you also have different spaces. I mean, what if you just have like, you know, a fence and you just want to grow something over the fence? You can hang this literally over a fence post and be able to put in your soil. This would be perfect for some herbs or some salad, something like that, some edible flowers. And you can put these, you know, alongside, you know, any kind of little situation you got going on. My whole point is that if you have sun, you can grow. There are containers, there are pots, there are stacking pots. There's all kind of stuff available these days. So without further ado, let's grow our container pot today. So we're going to grow some peppers. We're going to plant some peppers, and we're going to plant a tomato, a bush variety of tomato, and a bush variety of peppers. So the other thing about the pots that's very, very important is drainage. So you see at the bottom of this pot, there is a hole, okay? And a lot of first timers, they run out and get a good old pot and they go, oh, but it didn't have a hole in the bottom. Drainage is so important for your vegetables and plants because you don't want your plants to suffer root rot. You don't want it to be too moist down there. You have to have drainage. And not only drainage with the hole, like I'm about to show you, the first thing we're going to do with the pot is we're going to actually you can put stones in the bottom of it to help with drainage. My clay pots over the years, they start giving way. We're not going to waste, we're going to recycle, reuse. I break up those pots and you take these pieces and I put these in the bottom of my pots. So let's go ahead and get started. You can take the clay pieces, just go like this. Just put them all in there. Okay, and then the last pieces kind of go over the hole in a way where the water can get down there, but you want to provide good drainage. Okay, and just put the rest around here. Okay, so all this helps with proper drainage for the water situation. Then you go ahead and put in your soil. Plop that in there. There we go, perfect. And this is great because usually the paint kind of tells you, but you usually want to have at least 2 inches to the top of the pot. And again, once you water it, it's going to compress down some more. So this is perfect. So the first two things we're going to plant are some peppers, which love to be grown in pots. Even if they're not a bush variety, you can get away with peppers in a pot. Some peppers, I think, grow better in pots, especially the big bell peppers like these. And the great thing about these is that they're already in a container that you can just pop in there, because this is all biodegradable. But I do like to pop out the bottom, so you don't have to. It says you don't, but I like to take that. And this is biodegradable, so you can just put it right in there with the soil. Okay, and these are so small, and like I mentioned before, you want to grow it double, put the hole double the size of the plant. So that's what we have right here. So you just pop that in there. These are great. You can just put them in there just like it is. You just remove this little wrapper, and then you're good to go. Pop it in there. Put the soil all around. Okay. And then this brings me to a really good point. People say, oh my goodness, you're going to put 2 peppers in there? Yes, I am. Because there's a method of gardening called the French method. And since you're already going to be in a pot, and you're going to have to do more watering anyway, and because of that, that kind of leaches the nutrients out of the soil, you're going to have to feed your plants one good time. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put these close together. And let's see here, this doesn't want to do what I wanted to do. Okay, so we'll just slide that off. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Voila! Where there's a will, there's a way. So we pop that in there, and because it's a container, when you water it, you're going to have to water it more because it dries out faster. And so as a consequence of that, the only con to container gardening is that you have to water more and feed more. So the cycle for a vegetable is usually about, 3 to 4 months at the most. So you only have to feed it one good time halfway through the growth cycle. So you can do what's called the French method. You can pack them in and feed them well. It's basically the way it goes, is you pack in as many vegetables as you can. Just leave at least like 4 inches apart, and this will be fine. And I'm actually even going to pop in a few basil in there, because pepper and basil goes really well. Basil grows well with everything. So, and I love basil, and so I plant as much basil everywhere as I can. Now this is a little root bound, so I'm just going to loosen that up a little bit. Pop that in there. Okay. One more. Loosen up those roots. And pop that in there. Good. Now we just planted Italian basil, orange bell pepper, and yellow bell pepper. And what will happen is these are going to go nice and tall, and the basil will have a nice canopy underneath. And you have vegetables in a container, so you can do this. We have one more. And another thing I do is I put my pots on wheels here, as you can see, so I can move them all around, put them in the sun, out of the sun, take them over to the holes, whatever I need to do. So I'm just going to wheel this one right on over. And then my favorite vegetable, which is tomatoes, and I love to eat them homegrown. And this is a better bush tomato. So these are actually tomatoes that are made for containers to be grown on patios and balconies and all that great stuff. So we're going to plant that too. And it also brought up another point I wanted to do real quick. You see the yellowing on the leaves? You might be wondering, oh wow, why are the leaves yellow? Now, because it's a little tiny pot, you have to water a lot. And so most of the time, if there's yellow on your leaves, it's because it's gotten a little bit too much water. The only other reason would be if it had like a calcium or magnesium deficiency, which is pretty rare. But most of the time when you see the yellowing on your plants, it's because it's gotten a little bit of water in the too much variety. So this is our better bush tomato, and we're just going to Get a nice hole in there. Double the size of the pot. Dig right down in there and put your fill soil right to the side so you can put it right back in. Good. And loosen up those roots. Okay, now a little trick. This is not something that a lot of people tell you, but with tomatoes you want to plant deep. So I'm going to pick all this stuff off. This is just a little thing I heard the old farmers do. They put the little leaves in there with it. But you want to plant it deep because tomatoes will root wherever they're planted to. So you get even more of a root system. So I'm going to plant it all the way to here. So I'm going to put it down in the dirt and bring that soil up to that point. And tomatoes like to be planted deeply. Okay. So you see I got right up there to where I had picked those leaves off. Okay. And that's where you want to start, is right there. And so we know that tomato and basil go well. So we're going to put a couple of basil plants in here too. And we got one. It's a little root bound, but always loosen up those roots. Put one on one side. Prop it up. One on the other side. Prop it up. And there you have it. We just planted essentially a container vegetable garden. We're going to have peppers, we're going to have basil, we're going to have tomatoes just coming up out the wazoo. And you can do this anywhere where you have sun. Like I said, front porch, balcony, have sun, will grow. Go for it. Container gardening is a great place to start, and it's a great place to grow. And I'm excited to start this journey with you. Tune in again for the next episode of the Organic Living Series with Lynette Lester.